Okay, we're getting there, folks. Part five. I think we can probably knock this out in part five here, but executing search warrants. Who may execute the search warrants? Well, at a minimum, it has to be the officer named in the warrant. Okay, and that's going to be right at the top of the warrant, right in the top of the application for the warrant, all that. At a minimum, it has to include that officer. It also needs to include as few officers as is practicable for executing the warrant. So, referring back to my teacher case that I was talking about there in part four, um, that warrant was executed both by me and the sergeant on my shift because in executing the warrant, we used Cellbrite technology on the phone, and I don't have the first idea how to use that. But the sergeant on my shift is the department's Cellbrite operator. So, since he is the one who does that, his name was on there as taking part in the execution of the search warrant. And then, of course, me because I was the officer named in the warrant. But like I said, at a minimum, the officer named on the warrant and as few officers as practicable for executing the warrant. So, how long after the search warrant is issued can it be executed? Well, in Kansas, 96 hours. That's it. If you're at 96 hours and 1 second, go ahead and stamp the bad boy unserved and take it back to the court because it's no good anymore. You also need to consider what time of day the warrant is executed and how long it takes to fully execute the search. Okay. So with that, some courts have fixed time limits, like Kansas, where you get 96 hours and not a second longer. Some courts have a forthwith requirement, which is not fixed. There's no set time. It just says as soon as possible, basically, which is basically what forthwith means, as soon as possible. And then you have some places that say a combination requirement. So something like as soon as possible, not to exceed 96 hours, something like that. Then you also have time of day concerns, which there, as a general rule, courts do not like it whenever we execute search warrants in the middle of the night. They like daytime service. I have no idea why. Now, that's not to say that we don't execute search warrants in the middle of the night, because I've gone and got them issued at midnight and executed them at 2 a.m. But as a general rule, the guiding principle is execute them when the sun is out. But there are times, so like if we're holding somebody's house for the warrant in the middle of the night, they would appreciate it if we would go ahead and execute it right then so that we can get these people back into their house. Something like that, but, like my sergeant and I were Cellbrite. He's the Cellbrite guy. I've got a cell phone I need searched. It's not going to be an issue for somebody for us to execute that search warrant in the middle of the night whenever we work the night shift. So those are not, especially if we've already got the phone in our custody and everything, it's no big deal there. So, but as a general rule, daytime service. Okay. So what is daytime? Well, daytime, according to case law, is 0600 to 2200 hours, which for those of you who don't speak military time, first off, if you don't speak military time, learn it because that's how we do that. Second of all, 0600 to 2200 hours is 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Of course, we talked about nighttime searches there. We have duration of the search. Excuse me. So how long does it take to reasonably execute this warrant. So try not to drag your feet, basically. Don't go so fast that you miss stuff, but don't drag your feet either. Now, this one here, Segura versus the United States under securing scenes. This is one of my personal favorite case laws out here. You've seen the videos, I don't know how many times, of law enforcement officers going up and saying, I need you to step aside. We're going to secure the residence to obtain a search warrant. And people are like, you can't do that. That's illegal. Or, this is my house and you can't do that until you have a warrant. Well, Segura versus the United States is a United States Supreme Court case law, making it a ruling in the highest law in the land, so it applies everywhere. And Segura versus the United States says that if there is a probability that evidence will be lost, we can secure the residence and obtain a search warrant, which basically means we can kick you out of your own house and keep you out of your own house for the period of time that it takes for us to obtain a search warrant. So if I've got to wake up a judge in the middle of the night, I can kick you out of your house and I can do a protective sweep of your house and keep you out of your house in the middle of the night until I get that judge woke up and the warrant signed. So that's just a thing for you there. That is actually from, case law that we can do that. Also, we have the knock and announce requirement there, which stems from a case in England in 1603. So the knock and announce requirement predates the United States. And like I told you earlier, the background photo here is a demonstration of a no knock rather than a knock and announce. So with a knock and announce, we're required to knock on the door and announce our presence as law enforcement before we break into your house. That way, whenever we break down your door, you know who's doing it. So we do have exceptions to the knock and announce rule, which are exigent circumstances. So if you suddenly hear stuff flushing and you're there for drugs, you can kick the door in and go get it. You can use a ruse like, Pizza Hut, and people are like, oh, hey, what's up? And then once the door's open, there's no need for us to close it again, and all that. And then if the police presence and purpose is already known. So if we're already holding your house in the middle of the night under Segura v. United States, we obviously don't have to knock and announce to execute our warrant. And then you have the no knock, which is the ones where basically the court has said, yeah, it's reasonable to believe that you might be in danger or the evidence might be lost if you knock and announce your presence. So you're authorized to just break in. And then there's the remedy for the no knock or remedy for knock and announce violations, which basically means that you didn't wait a reasonable amount of time before kicking in the door. Basically sue the police over that one. So I guess we're going to have to go on to a part 6 here, but it should be short. So see you in just a minute.